Welcome back. So, there was a very famous Duke Ellington tap dance that he did at Grace Church Cathedral many years ago to David Dance Before the Lord. And I have to say, in the interlude, to kind of keep calm and pray and do some praise, I was doing some dancing, as was Cynthia. So that's the spirit we're taking this morning. So, to begin with, though, let's begin our service in earnest. And we'll do that by our wonderful chalice lighting. Take it away, Mia.
Breath of the universe, gentle and strong, revive the flame of our resilient souls. Breathe new life into desolate hearts, prisoners of pain and fear of the future. Return to blow over the tumultuous waters of our history and give them a direction. As morning light removes the darkness from our eyes and inspire the mind of every human being so that it may understand the folly of barriers dictated by ignorance and selfishness. Help us feel free to collaborate better in the construction of meaning on which we work together.
We asked a few of our CCUU youth to consider some of the responses about why in our UUUNO service we are focusing on climate change. And so we have a wonderful video from a certain Sebastian Roake Van Young on what he does to help the environment. I'm going to ask as well if any of our youth who didn't get a chance to do a video this week would like to put in the chat box throughout the service why they want to help the environment. I can definitely say that during joys and sorrows as well. So if you are a young person who's watching the service and would like to put on how you want to help the environment, please do. And so for now, let's hear Mr. Sebastian and why he wants to help the environment.
I help the environment by using boxes for boards from the recycling.
Welcome again. Today I'm going to be today I'm going to be reading a book called Common Ground: The Water, Earth, Air We Share by Molly Bang. May we make our decisions for the seventh generation. Long ago, a village was built around the commons. The commons was a common ground which belonged to everyone in the village. All the villagers could bring their sheep to the commons to graze. But there was a problem. A villager who owned many sheep used more of the commons than a villager who owned a few sheep, or one, or none at all. And because the common grass was free, people put as many sheep to graze there as they could. Soon there were too many sheep. There was not enough grass for all of them. That was not good for the commons, or for the sheep, or for the villagers. So people did one of two things. Some people stayed in the village, but they made a plan together. They agreed to keep the commons lush and green and to do a better job of sharing it. Each person could only put one sheep on the commons. Everyone had to follow this rule. Other people chose to move away. There was always somewhere else to go. Today, the world is much like that village. Now our commons are our parks, reserves, and natural resources, and the water and the air of the whole world. Today, we have almost the same problem that the villagers had. Today, each fisherman tries to catch as many fish as he can from the common sea. This way, the fisherman has more fish to sell and to sell in the short run. But soon there will be fewer and fewer fish. This is not good for the fish, for the sea, or for the people. Today, each lumber company wants to cut down as many trees as it can to sell for wood, paper, and fuel. The more trees the lumber company cuts down, the more money it makes in the short run. But after cutting down so many trees, there are fewer and fewer forests. This is not good for the trees, or for the forest creatures, or for the forest soil. We use our common oil, gas, and coal to heat our houses and run our cars. Companies use them to make plastics and other chemicals. In this way, we can stay warm, travel long distances, and visit stores full of amazing things to buy in the short run. But someday, these fossil fuels will be used up. We all need water for drinking, cooking, and washing. Farmers need water for crops and livestock, and businesses need water to cool equipment and clean up wastes. So we pump as much of our common water as we can. This works pretty well in the short run. But over time, the wells run dry and the wastes pollute the water. There is not enough clean water for all people, the farms, and the businesses. Fresh water, fossil fuels, forest, fish, one by one, we are destroying the natural resources that sustains our lives. So then, here is our common question. If our country, our companies, and each one of us benefit more in the short run from using as many natural resources as we can, then what will stop us from destroying our whole world, our common ground? We need to answer this question together because today we are different from those long ago villagers in one very important way. Now we don't have any place else to go.
Thank you, Cynthia. Now a reading and call to prayer. We who have lost our sense and our senses, our touch, our smell, our vision of who we are, we who frantically force and press all things without rest for body or spirit, hurting our earth and injuring ourselves, we call a halt. We want to rest. We need to rest and allow the earth to rest. We need to reflect and rediscover the mystery that lives in us, that is the ground of every unique expression of life, the source of the fascination that calls all things to communion. We declare a Sabbath, a space of quiet, for simple being and letting be, for recovering the great, forgotten truths, for learning how to live again. Now is our moment of joys and of sorrows. If you are able to, please, in the chat box, lift up all the joys that have happened this week. We need the joys, and the joys are there. Please share them with this community in the chat box, and I will light a candle with Cynthia. Also, please share your sorrows as well. We know that there is heaviness in this time, and we hope that together, by sharing it, we can help at least in some small way to help carry that load. And a reminder too, if earlier you had put a joy and sorrow in the chat box before we had to restart, thank you very much. You were really on top of it. And so we actually ask that you put your joy and sorrow back in that chat box so we'll be able to say that aloud in this time. So now, let us listen to some healing music. And in this time, please put your joys and sorrows down in a virtual space so that we can lift them up together. October 15th, this is from Al Malone, was the 60th anniversary of my first flying lesson. Lots of skies have passed under my wings. Joy. We share that joy and that flight. Thank you, Al. There is a sorrow, lots of depression during this time from Jonathan and Carolyn. Yes, very true. We hold that as a truth. A joy from Laura Carmen. It took only 35 minutes to vote early, and I felt elated and relieved it was done. I've heard this from many. If you're able to vote early, I have heard that it is great. It is great for your mental health. Thank you for that joy and for all you do. Howard Milkey has a sorrow is the resurgence of COVID-19. My joy is good sailing in my book project, an amazing support. Thank you, Howard, for holding both of those truths. Dion is thrilled for great weather we're having and for the strong early voter turnout we're seeing in Greater NOLA. Absolutely. Overjoyed that my niece and nephews are all still healthy despite being back at school and each being involved in athletics. They are thriving. Cindy writes that after being laid off at the end of March and struggling with unemployment since, that she has found new energy and purpose in starting her own flower business. Bringing healing to myself and to others through flowers is a true dream, and I am thankful to build this new endeavor in my new home in Minneapolis. What a beautiful endeavor, bringing beauty to the world. And we are so happy for you, Cindy. Jacqueline Luck has a joy and a sorrow. April, who had Huntington's disease, whom she sheltered along with her 2-year-old for a few months in Tennessee. Thank you, Jacqueline. Nicole has 2 joys, voted early, and spent time in this beautiful weather this weekend. Joys indeed. Vera and Jim O'Neill. Vera writes that we said goodbye to my brother LP, who has Alzheimer's, and the gift for us was he seemed to hear and recognize through his eyes a yes to who we were and memories too. A sorrow and also a candle of memory for LP. Thank you. Jacqueline wrote that April, who had Huntington's disease, did die Tuesday. And the grace is that someone has agreed to adopt her daughter, who Jacqueline has been concerned about. She's 16 now. There is the joy out of that sorrow as well. I am glad she is loved and supported. A joy from Sally Jackson is that Zoom has allowed me to connect with one of my trumpet idols, and we connect weekly. That is amazing, Sally, and we are so excited for you, and we hope to get you back in this Congress sanctuary one day to play trumpet for us as well. What a joy. Thank you. From John Davenport, the lines were too long, so we voted by mail on Friday. Voting is voting is voting. We have voted here. A lot of beautiful joys and a lot of hard sorrows. Please know that we celebrate and revel in your joys, and we hold you in your sorrows. And if there is anything that you need to reach out to, please never hesitate to know that this community is here for you. Whether it is in deep sharing and ministry that is needed, whether it is in a socially distanced help getting to the polls, whether it is anything in between, simply celebrating that we are still here and still doing this work as Community Church Unitarian Universalist. Know that we hold you in your joys and your sorrows. And we finally light our last 2 candles, one for all the joys that are yet to emerge, that are coming, that you can feel, that tiny seed planted in the earth of hope, and of course for all the sorrows that we cannot know, but we know happen as well. May we have a candle for our joys and our sorrows.
Sister of ice and snow, I'm coming to you from the land of my ancestors, from atolls, sunken volcanoes, undersea descent of sleeping giants.
Sister of ocean and sand, I welcome you to the land of my ancestors, to the land where they sacrificed their lives to make mine possible, to the land of survivors.
I'm coming to you from the land my ancestors chose. Islang Kainan, Marshall Islands, a country more sea than land.
I welcome you to Nunaat, Greenland, the biggest island on Earth.
With me, I bring these shells that I picked from the shores of Bikini Atoll and Brunette Dome.
In my hand I hold these rocks, picked from the shores of Nuuk, the foundation of the land I call my home.
With these shells, I bring with me a story of long ago. Two sisters frozen in time on the island of Buyay. One magically turned to stone, the other who chose that life to be rooted by her sister's side. To this day, the two sisters can be seen by the edge of the reef, a lesson in permanence.
With these rocks I bring a story told countless times, a story about Sesuma Amna, mother of the sea, who lives in a cave at the bottom of the ocean. This is a story about the guardian of the sea. She sees the greed in our hearts, the disrespect in our eyes. Every whale, every stream, every iceberg are her children. When we disrespect them, she gives us what we deserve, a lesson in respect. Do we deserve the melting ice, the hungry polar bears coming to our islands, or the colossal icebergs hitting these waters with rage? From one island to another,
I ask for solutions. From one island to another,
I ask for your problems.
let me show you the tide, coming for us faster than we'd like to admit. Let me show you airports underwater, bulldozed reefs, blasted sands, and plans to build new atolls, forcing land from an ancient rising sea, forcing us to imagine turning ourselves to stone.
Can you see our glaciers grown with the weight of the world's heat? I wait for you, here on the land of my ancestors, heart heavy with a continuous thirst for solutions. As I watch this land change while the world remains silent.
Sister of ice and snow, I come to you now, in grief.
Mourning landscapes that are always forced to change. First, through wars inflicted on us.
Then through nuclear waste dumped in our waters.
On our ice.
And now,
This. Sister of ocean and sand, I offer you these rocks, the foundation of my home. May the same unshakable foundation connect us, make us stronger than these colonizing monsters that still to this day devour our lives. The very same beasts that now decide who should live,
who should die? Sister of ice and snow, I offer you these shells and the story of the two sisters as testament, as declaration that despite what we are told, we will not leave. We will choose stone. We will choose to be rooted to this reef forever. From these islands,
we ask for solutions.
From these islands,
we ask, we demand that the world see beyond
ACs, SUVs, their pre-packaged convenience, their oil-slick dreams.
Beyond the belief that tomorrow will never happen, that this is merely an inconvenient truth.
Let me bring my home to yours.
Let's watch as Miami, New York, Shanghai, Amsterdam, London, Rio de Janeiro, and Osaka try to breathe underwater. You think you have decades before your home falls beneath tides?
We have years, we have months before you sacrifice us again, before you watch from your TV screens and computer screens to see if we will still be breathing while you do nothing.
My sister, I offer you these rocks as a reminder that our lives matter more than their power. That life in all form demands the same respect we all give to money.
That these issues will affect each and every one of us. None of us is immune.
And that each and every one of us has to decide if we will rise.
Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends' generosity help us to do sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online at www.ccuunola.org/stewardship/ or by text at 504-370-2659 and text GIVE to be prompted to make the donation. For virtual donations, please note that there is a 3% processing fee, so if you're able to add that to your calculations, be much appreciated. You can also send a check to CCUU at 6690 Fleur-de-Lis Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124. Thank you.
Now is the season for tilling the ground, thanking the earth for gifts profound. Now is the season for tilling the ground and growing our circle of love. Now is the season for sowing our dreams. Hearing the truth inspires new themes. Now is the season for sowing our dreams and growing our circle of love. Now is the season for weeding out hate, overcoming its crushing weight. Now is the season for weeding out hate and growing our circle of love. Now is the season for harvesting change, ancient patterns to rearrange. Now is the season for harvesting change and growing our circle of love. Now is the season for sharing our grace. Cherish the stories in every face. Now is the season for sharing our grace and growing our circle of love and growing our circle of love.
Welcome back. We're doing something a little different with the sermon today. The sermon is going to be given by two CCUU RE youths, Emily Earhart Lovelace and Calvin Sieg. The first will be given by Amelia, and both of these are going to be two different viewpoints on the issue that we're addressing today about climate justice. So the first will be by Amelia. We're going to have a music video in between, a little, the short reflection is for Amelia. There's going to be a video break in between, and then we're going to have Calvin give his reflection on going to the intergenerational seminar at the UN, but it was virtual this year. And also we're going to close it out with Sophia Syed. And we will do that right now. Thank you so much.
With any luck, I'll be live in 2100. That seems really crazy now, but in reality, it's only 80 years away. How different will my life become? I used to think about the future often, and it always seemed so exciting. At school, kids would always talk about how we would be here to see flying cars and teleportation and time travel. I was sure I would own a robot that did all of my chores by the time I was an adult, and I would probably take my vacations on the moon. Everything was going to be so incredibly awesome. But now, I guess I don't really see that future anymore. Instead, I look ahead and I see a world which becomes uninhabitable. I see my children growing up in a world so different from my own, and not because they ride jetpacks to school. How many of the animals I grew up marveling at will seem like myths to children of the future? How much time do I have before the coral reefs I once explored are dead and gray? How long do I have to live like I do now? How long will it be before we are forced to stop ignoring the fact that we are killing our planet? And even when we are forced to stop pretending that having a recycling bin is helping, that sharing cars is improving the air, that picking up litter and putting grass along the coast and having fancy meetings about sophisticated statistics is enough to save us, what then? What do we do when we finally come to terms with the fact that life cannot go on this way, even if we make a few convenient changes? I don't know what the world will do. What I do know is that many of the young people alive today see that we cannot finish our lives in the same way our parents and grandparents will. We will be here to see the waters rise. We will be here to watch the forests burn. We will be here to witness our ice caps disappear. We will see it, and life will not be the same. It's too late to make small changes. Every second we continue to pretend that the small changes are helping is a second in which we are failing. Failing me, failing you, failing every single being on this planet. Our future is stolen, and we are the thieves.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep. Drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Hi, I'm Calvin Sieg, the UUNO envoy for this congregation, and I attended the virtual intergenerational spring seminar with the UN. When I attended in April, the topic of discussion was climate change and climate justice. People from many countries and regions joined, and we were able to discuss the current issues on the topic of climate change and possible solutions to these issues. All keynote speakers provided multiple different perspectives on the climate justice struggles. From a UN representative, a group of Native Americans, a Philippines native, and other international student activists, all had very interesting points. I feel that many of us already know of the current climate crisis. However, in the case that you do not, we are facing extreme temperatures and the highest levels of greenhouse gases in history. These have had adverse effects on our society. A very notable effect is climate migration, where people are forced to migrate because their homes have become uninhabitable due to climate change. This topic is especially one that the Native Americans during the keynote presentation voiced their concerns about. Although touching on these topics, the majority of the discussion was on us moving forward as a community. A major point was being extremely creative and thinking about how to influence those in power, as many of those in power are already satisfied with the status quo when it comes to economic systems and the current climate situation. Another point was feeling okay to talk about current issues and being committed to raising voices of those who are deeply concerned about climate change. All of this was extremely insightful. However, what I found more impactful was group discussions. I was assigned to a group with one other youth and about 8 adults. I was intimidated at first, but as many of you know, we UUs are pretty welcoming, so it was not difficult at all to become comfortable in discussing climate change and climate justice. What started as identifying climate issues in our regions quickly became an open discussion about how we can cause positive change in our communities. It made me think about the multiple ways the climate is being negatively affected in our community, from coastline erosion to the aftermath of the oil spill, just to name a couple. It also became very apparent to me that there are people all around the world facing similar problems that we are and are seeking to address these problems. I was paired with a woman from New York City, and she told me about the solar panel roofs being installed in buildings just a few blocks away from her home, and how she was walking to church instead of using her gas-powered car. I talked to the one other youth in my group and discussed how even putting in the effort to recycle is a great start to addressing climate change and spreading awareness of the issue. Even the woman in the nursing home who was on the virtual seminar explained how they had routine meetings to discuss how they could lower their carbon footprint. So, yes, people all around the world are doing things differently, trying to help the climate. But on the surface, not much is changing, at least from what we can see. Well, there are still many ways and many people who are not open to discussing current issues on the topic of the climate. We've seen people with closed-mind approaches to this, and many of those people are those with the power to make the most impactful changes. It's frustrating, yes, but I urge you not to compare your actions to that of others. Don't think that because your neighbor isn't recycling or is using too much electricity, that you should do the same. To make a meaningful change in this world, be the one to make that first step. Be the first to recycle, to use more efficient technology, to open the discussion to climate change and climate justice. It is from these open discussions that I wholeheartedly feel that we can move our community forward. It is from this progression in the community that can move forward us as a society. And as a society, together we can make a positive change in this world. Thank you.
We want to thank you all before our incredible benediction for coming with us today on this journey. And in terms of climate justice, we hope to continue to stay committed in our work. And I want to thank our youngest youth leader members, because it is their work and their activism that is not only going to make our world better, but is going to make the even younger generation's world sustainable. Thank you.
I just want to also thank the youth for doing this. I know y'all wanted to hear their voices. I'm sorry. You wanted to hear their voices, and this was an opportunity to share because they are our future, and I'm so very proud of them for doing this. Also, you want to stay afterwards for the coffee hour, virtual coffee hour, and thank you so much. So take it away, Sophia.
We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without faults, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we've been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we've been waiting for.